we went through it this year with Bryce Young, Panthers quarterback, right? We went from the sort of optimism of the beginning. Let's even go back into the preseason. We hear Dave Canales say all these things during the preseason about Bryce doing this, Bryce doing that. We have the joint practice. Remember with the Jets and Bryce and the Panthers offense destroyed the Jets defense, and by all accounts they did. I mean, we didn't watch it on TV. Maybe you saw a highlight here and there on social media or team websites or whatever. And then they played one series in the preseason. It was a great one against the, I think it was Buffalo Bills cardboard cutout defense because nobody was playing who plays in the NFL. And then we start the season, and the first two games looked like the first two games. And we went from optimism to, oh my gosh, he's bad, to the point where Dave Canales, whether it's him or David Tepper or somebody else, said, nah, we're pulling the plug on this. And there was never any indication that Bryce Young was going to come back. Ever. Andy Dalton has the car accident, however many weeks later. Bryce has to start. They really limit what they can do for the first few weeks. I think it was the game in Denver in which they never really looked vertical at all. Everything was behind the line of scrimmage, horizontal. Nothing was down the field. It was impossible to look like a competent offense. And so they met that challenge by being an incompetent offense. But Canales did say after the game, Bryce did a lot of good things, did everything we asked him to do. And it slowly started to get better. And I don't even remember the game in which it started to click. But obviously, with the one blip being the Dallas game notwithstanding, it started to look like a real NFL offense with a real NFL quarterback. So that's the long lead into this, Victoria. Based on performance this year, where do you think NFL.com ranked Bryce Young at the end of the season among 32 NFL starting quarterbacks?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was towards the bottom.
14th.
Wow.
14th.
Okay, so kind of in the middle.
Kind of in the middle.
Look at that.
That's in the upper half of the middle.
I know.
14 teams make the NFL playoffs.
Yes. And
Just
wow. So they think
throwing
he's better
that
than
out there.
Wilson.
All right. So for the sake of this exercise,
So unlike media to think positively of the Panthers.
like I said, the development was eye-opening.
Yeah.
One, Lamar Jackson. We could read the numbers. Their numbers they make you laugh. The numbers just they're comedy. Number 2 is Josh Allen. See what I just said about Lamar Jackson and play it again. 3 is Joe Burrow, who also had just an incredible season, albeit they didn't make the playoffs. They lost too many games. 4 was Jared Goff.
Okay.
Incredible year for Detroit.
Yeah.
5 was Sam Darnold. It's really hard to argue with the regular season that he had. He was great.
Yeah.
Until the last
Just have
game.
To look past the last couple.
To the last game in the playoff game, which, he did revert to the mean a little bit.
I know. I was going to say, this reminded me of old school Sam, like Carolina Sam.
And there are people who think that, well, that's the real, what we saw the last 2 weeks, that's the real Sam Darnold. No, that's not the real Sam Darnold. That's what happens in certain games when it's not going well for your team. Let's not forget that Darnold was sacked 6 times in the first half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, sometimes the sack is on the quarterback, not the offensive line. And I think that some of that was Darnold's fault. Not getting rid of the ball when he should was Darnold's fault.
especially towards the end.
Oh, my gosh. Even in the second quarter, there were a few. I remember Belichick is only on during the second quarter during those Manning casts. And I watched just about all of the second quarter on the Manning cast. And Belichick was, that's quarterback. You got that's preparation before the snap. Look, Darnold wasn't a top 5 NFL quarterback or isn't a top 5 NFL quarterback.
No.
But he had a year that put him into that discussion. But Darnold was 5. Baker Mayfield 6.
I could see that.
Yeah, big year.
Yeah.
Threw a lot of interceptions, but 4,500 yards passing and 41 touchdown passes.
Yes. Tons of bombs.
But he turned the ball over a lot. Fumbled
He did.
13 times, threw 16 interceptions. Jaden Daniels, 7.
Wow. Look at him go. It makes sense. He's great. He had a great year. Still going.
It is still going. Chick Hernandez, who joined us last hour, I could see myself. I don't have a football team that I root for. I could root for Washington with Jaden Daniels.
He's fun to watch.
Oh my gosh, he's fun. He looks like he plays while having fun. My favorite play from the game was late on when they did the fake handoff, and he just casually had the ball on his hip.
Yeah.
And then he was just kind of standing there, and then he took off, and he had the stiff arm of the. Oh my gosh,
He's
my
got
favorite play of the
moves.
game. He is so good. 8, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised if he was out of the top 10.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't have the vintage Patrick Mahomes year.
No.
He did, however, throw for 3,900 yards, 26 touchdowns. He did have 11 interceptions, so a couple of rushing touchdowns. So it wasn't vintage Mahomes.
But it wasn't awful.
8th.
Yeah.
Not bad. Justin Herbert, 9th. Yeah, I've said this before about Herbert. He's the biggest tease in the NFL.
Yeah.
Should be better.
Yeah, he should be.
Should be better.
You got Harbaugh helping you too.
Yep.
I had a little more expectation for him this season, but that could also
They
be
made
on
the playoffs at least. Geno Smith, 10th. Jordan Love, 11th. Matthew Stafford, 12th. I think that's kind of slander. I think he's better than that.
He
but
should
regardless,
be higher up there.
Regardless, I mean, he didn't have an amazing season. They got off to a slow start, and I think there were some injury issues with Stafford. He played in 16 of the 17 games. I guess he didn't play the last one. But he was number 12. 13 was Brock Purdy, who also had some injury issues, and his team had injury issues.
Did not help him at all.
14, Bryce, as we said earlier. And I'm just going to skip over the rest and then just tell you that C.J. Stroud, according to this, 21st.
Really?
If you're asking me to big picture quarterbacks in the NFL, C.J. Stroud is well inside the top 20. But I only bring it up to remind the people, and this is not about me, this is about, and what I said at the time was, it's a long race.
Mm-hmm.
There are players and teams that hit right away, and this is what I will say about Jaden Daniels too, by the way, and then fall back. We don't know what the real impetus was for C.J. Stroud's emergence a year ago. Sometimes it's momentum of a team. Clearly, Houston was outstanding last year and an emerging, we thought, dynamite team. They didn't have a great year. And some of that was C.J. Stroud not playing well this year. Frankly, if you watch the wild-card game against the Chargers, he really wasn't that good.
Yeah. No, people were saying, oh, well, it's because there's so many injuries. But even when the guys came back, he still was.
Oh, wait. It's so injuries and the players around you matter.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
So,
I'm curious where Aaron Rodgers was on this
Oh,
list.
I didn't get to Aaron Rodgers because I stopped at C.J. Stroud.
Oh, boy.
Dak Prescott was 19th, by the way. Of course, he was hurt for most of the season, but he also threw a lot of interceptions when he was healthy. Drake May was 20th, by the way. Russell Wilson, 22nd. Rodgers, 23rd. right behind Russell Wilson. I mean, he's 1,000.
Yeah.
1,000 years old.
He is.
But
still doesn't know if he's coming back.
Whatever he does, whatever. But the whole reason I brought this thing up was Bryce placing in the top half of the NFL among starting quarterbacks, and simply to remind people that your career isn't made up by one season. If you go back and you look at Peyton Manning's trajectory as a starting quarterback in the NFL, not only would people be surprised by how bad he was in year one, I think you'll be surprised by how average to below average he was for a couple of years until it finally clicked. So, it's a long run. It's a long race. The Bryce Young that those of us thought would be great can still be great. So can C.J. Stroud. My whole point last year was it really doesn't matter how good Stroud is as long as your guy's good. What C.J. Stroud does doesn't matter as long as Bryce Young is good. I think Bryce Young is good. So the Panthers should be happy about their quarterback.